Have you ever looked at your life and thought, this is not how things were supposed to be? Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you did everything right, but nothing turned out the way you expected? Maybe you followed God's leading, but now you feel lost. Maybe you prayed for something, believing with all your heart, but the opposite happened. Maybe you're waiting for a breakthrough, but all you see is delay after delay. And now, you're left wondering, did I hear God wrong? Did I make a mistake? Is God even listening? But here's the real question, is God still in control, even when everything seems out of control? When God's plan looks nothing like your plan, think about Joseph. He had dreams from God, powerful visions of his future. He was supposed to be a leader. He was supposed to be in a position of authority. But instead of rising to power, he was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, thrown into prison. Year after year, nothing made sense. Have you ever felt like Joseph? Like you're on the path to something great, but suddenly, life took a drastic turn? Like you were full of hope, but then one disappointment after another crushed your spirit? What if Joseph had given up? What if he had said, God must have forgotten me, and stopped believing? He would have missed out on what God was doing. Because God wasn't ignoring him, he was positioning him. And at the right time, in a single moment, Joseph went from the prison to the palace. What if your waiting season is actually your preparation season? What if God is building you, shaping you, preparing you for something you can't see yet? Would you still trust in? What if your detour is part of God's plan? Sometimes, the road to our destiny doesn't look like a straight path. Sometimes, it looks like a dead end, like a setback, like a mistake. But what if the very thing you see as a detour is actually God's divine direction? Moses was born to be a leader. But instead of leading, he spent 40 years in the wilderness. David was anointed king. But instead of ruling, he was running for his life, hiding in caves. Paul was called to preach the gospel. But instead of open doors, he found himself shipwrecked, beaten, and in prison. None of it made sense. But in the end, they all saw the truth. God had a plan the entire time. What if God's plan for you is bigger than what you're praying for? What if the delays, the struggles, and the unexpected turns are actually positioning you for something greater? Would you still hold on? Would you still believe? When you can't see what God is doing, one of the hardest things to do is trust God when you don't understand. It's easy to have faith when things are going well. It's easy to trust when everything is falling into place. But what about when everything is falling apart? What about when the job doesn't come through? When the relationship ends? When the healing doesn't happen the way you expected? What do you do when you can't see God working? You remember his promises. Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future. Isaiah 55:8-9, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. God is not surprised by your situation. He is not confused. He is not worried. He sees the full picture. And if you trust him, he will lead you exactly where you need to be. Meditation, resting in God's time, and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Imagine yourself walking on a dark road. You can't see what's ahead. You feel lost. You feel uncertain. But then, you hear a voice whisper, I'm leading you. You don't need to see the whole path. You just need to take the next step. And trust that God is guiding you. Let his peace fill your heart. Let his presence remind you, you are not alone. Challenge, let go and trust God today. I challenge you to release control. To stop trying to figure it all out on your own. To trust that God knows what he's doing, even when you don't. Maybe that means surrendering your timeline to him. Maybe it means choosing faith over fear. Maybe it means saying, God, I trust you even when I don't understand. Because His plans are always better than ours. And He'll never fail you. Call to action, declare your faith. If this message spoke to you, comment God's plan is greater below. Hit the like button if you choose the Trustcast timing. And share this message because someone else needs this reminder too. Even when life doesn't make sense. Even when you don't understand, God is still in control. And His plans for you are greater than you can imagine. Amen.